What got you interested in coaching?
Um, so I've been playing Overwatch for essentially since like a year after release, and
Yep.
I play with a lot of people. I've been playing consistently for years now. I met my ex-wife on Overwatch, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a big part of my life, and I play like almost every day. And so I figured if I play this often, I might as well just get better at it.
Yep.
So.
Okay. Okay. Sounds good. Sounds good. And Echo Hero Pool. What has that looked like over the last, I guess, however long you've played, and then why Echo?
Uh, Hero pool. I can play anybody.
Sure.
Um, so you kind of have to when you play Echo.
Sure.
And then I like Echo because of the flexibility of the character. I tend to be more of a supportive person, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if I've been playing a lot of the 6v6 role queue, so it ultimately comes down to what are we lacking? Like if we have
Sure.
one tank on the team, I'll almost always duplicate the tanks. If one of my healers just died, I'll duplicate a healer, keep the team up until my other healer gets back. You know, things like that. Um, I also like if I'm seeing that a fight is being initiated, and let's say for instance the enemy team's running Ana, like I just did this. I played Watchpoint Gibraltar. We were on defense. I
Yep.
saw um, their Ana used Nano, and I was like, okay, cool. So I went over the top of first point, like that little part that goes underneath. I was
Yep.
standing on the top. I saw Lifeweaver standing in the back, duplicated him, went back to my team. Sure enough, Monkey jumped in while he was ulting, got slept, purpled, and I pulled him out.
Nice.
So,
That's funny. That's funny. Okay. Perfect. So basically, you're duping just whoever you need, but it's usually just Echo. Now, how long have you been maining Echo, and what kind of got you to settle on her? She's really fun, but I am curious.
yeah, here, let me share my screen. I'll just show you my career profile.
Sure.
So I play almost strictly competitive, but
Yep.
this is my ratio for healers. And this is for all competitive seasons. But I do play a lot of Genji. Normally, Genji is my follow-up to Echo because once people see between my name and me playing Echo, they go, "Oh, we need hit scans," so I go to Genji to counter them. So,
Right. Right. Okay. Okay.
but most of the time I'll just stay on Echo.
Okay. Okay. Makes sense. Makes sense. All right. So we're looking to get coaching on Echo. What about Echo made her unique and really stuck with you compared to some of the other DPS characters?
I can fly. I can. I like the combos that you can do. So generally,
Sure.
it's just um, one shot stickies, focusing beam, and then
Yeah.
pretty much any squishy is dead. Um, there are
Okay.
some characters that I have problems with, which I was planning on asking you about when we get to that. But what has made me stick with her is just genuinely just the flexibility, and also it's really cool when you can fill in for somebody who dies, or saving somebody, or nanoing somebody when they didn't even we don't have an Ana, and they're like, "What?"
Sure.
I
Sure.
always enjoy those reactions.
Sure. Fair
So.
enough. Okay. Okay. Sounds good. How long have you been applying yourself to competitive and or trying to apply yourself to just for the sake of improvement? What got you interested in coaching initially? Because I'm seeing here you want to understand in decision making for your main, but getting a coaching session is kind of a big investment, right? So, what
Mhm.
are your ultimate goals here?
Just get better at the game. I,
Sure.
I, what frustrates me is that a few seasons ago, I peaked diamond, but for whatever reason, I've just been sitting at gold ever since, and I don't understand why. So I don't know if I've regressed in
Mm,
my skill level, or if um, Overwatch made some changes to how they put people in their rankings. But uh, normal Q, like 5v5 damage, it's got me in gold, like high gold, and
sure.
then in 6v6, it's got me in high gold as well. So
Sure.
I think I'm
Sure.
just a gold player.
Sure. It might have been season 8 where the rank discrepancies, like the rank breakdowns, were off. So I think that
Uh-huh.
that's probably the big reasons. A lot of people were boosted in season 8, season 4. But,
Gotcha.
that's probably the biggest solution or the biggest answer. Okay. So play Overwatch a lot, though.
Yep.
A lot of Overwatch. Now,
I mean,
how is that
it's
time
almost a
broken
work
down?
week.
Yeah, it makes sense. How is that time spent up? Like 4
Between
or
what game
5
modes do
hours
I
per
play?
day. Yeah, between the game modes, between Echo and I see you got like hours on Life Weaver and competitive. Like, what does that
Yeah.
split look like?
Last few seasons it's been like just Echo.
Just Echo,
If it's a
okay.
day that I work, it's like 2-3 hours. Maybe days that I don't work. Depends what I'm doing that day, but it could be anywhere from 0 to 8.
Sure,
It
makes
just depends
sense.
on the day.
Okay, but
Especially if
potentially a
my
lot.
buddy is free and we duo queuing.
Okay, sounds good. And then when you're on the days that you're playing ranked, you just go in and play.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, makes
I
sense.
play almost only ranked. Yeah, I don't play like, because I know how to play all the characters, so I might as well play ranked.
Sure, absolutely.
I don't need to
Okay.
practice anybody.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay. Do you have any sort of warm up routine, or have you had one in the past? Have you tried one before?
No.
Okay, something to consider. Just in terms of like, basically, here's what we're looking at. So you're one tricking a character, and you're playing the character a lot. So in terms of what's keeping you in gold, there's really only a couple of things it can be, right? It's either your practice quality, and that is either due to, you're not warmed up, or you're not taking breaks, or you're playing too much, or playing too many like wasted hours and not enough practice hours, or there's a truly, you don't actually understand how to play Echo as well as you think that you do, right? Now,
Okay.
it's probably a little bit of both, but usually when I talk with a gold rank player, right, or a mid rank player, there's a discussion about, okay, you're playing too many characters, or you're playing too inconsistently, and you have to like you're the guy that's showing up in the gym for like 3 hours every single day and is still like 120 soaking wet. You get what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
like there's probably something wrong. There's probably a lot of wasted reps, or your form's terrible, or your scripting for your workouts is terrible as well. Or you're not eating enough food. Like something is, I wouldn't say wrong, because you're still either an average or above average player, but you're not practicing like an average or an above average player. You're practicing like in the top 1% of people playing Overwatch. At least right now. So let me kind of run down a couple of things for you as potential things to consider. Warm-up can be helpful so that when you do go into practice, you're not worrying as much about your mechanics. They're already decently warmed up. They're already basically ready to go. You might not be playing at your best every single game mechanically. Nobody does, not even professional players. But it takes a little bit of that early hurdle. Same reason that you warm up when you're doing anything physical, right? I think what turns people off about warming up is that they think that needs to be this long, drawn-out sequence, when in reality it just needs to be a couple minutes. Mm-hmm. So whether that's practice range, whether that's a custom game like Vaxta, I'm not sure if you've heard of or used Vaxta before.
I have not.
Okay, so let me kind of show you here. Let me start my stream here.
Okay.
So this is kind of what Vax looks like. You go into custom games, you create, go to settings, you import VAXTA, and then you just jump into the workshop chamber, and you have bunch of bots moving relatively unpredictably. You click here, and then you just go.
I have seen this before. I just didn't know what it was called.
Yeah, so this is Vaxta. Now for Echo, it's okay. You do this for 2 or 3 minutes. What I would do is I'd stand still and try to land primary fire, right? Then I would start to strafe, and then I would use my flight and try to land stickies and just fly again, right? Over and over and over again, right? Now, that's not super useful for Echo, but it's better than nothing. 2 to 3 minutes of that is fine. Something else that you could do if you have the time, depending on the queue times, is go into Arcade and go to Deathmatch and check the queues on those. Do that a couple of times. Do that. Honestly, just one of these is probably fine. There may be Tryhard. This is another one you could do in custom games. I don't know if they'll have it. Yeah, so there's another one, Tryhard Free For All right here. So you look for Tryhard. This will be an EU lobby, so my latency will be higher. What coast are you? Central, East, West?
Central.
Central. Okay, so the ping won't be too bad. Probably be around 140, which is doable. But you just play versus really good players, and you just fight them over and over and over and over again. And because you're having to actually use your kit, it's nice because this is kind of how real Overwatch looks, right? It's not shooting robots exactly.
Yeah.
And basically, it's instant respawn. And you're going to be playing versus people that are probably a lot better than you. Space to respawn, and then you go again, over and over and over and over and over again. The only problem with this one is there's going to be a bit of ping, as I showed, but there's also going to be, it's not always available. Depends on if somebody has a lobby going or not.
Okay.
But I would recommend any of those options, either 5-10 minutes of try hard free for all if it's available, one deathmatch, or 2 to 3 minutes of bumbling around shooting robots in the practice range, or fax to code. Just do it to get yourself alert, warmed up, focus on a specific aspect of your gameplay. Shoot, nothing but shooting, nothing but dueling. And then when you got a couple of that, you're good to go. That's it.
I could do that.
Okay. Let's keep going here. Now, in terms of the quantity of your playing, let's say on non-work days, you're kind of in a unique situation where you are playing so much that you couldn't possibly practice for that entire duration, which is not a bad thing. Like, it is a game. You should be playing for fun, right? But what I encourage you to do is to kind of draw a line between this is practice time and this is playing for fun. So what that might look like is something like you play on your work days because you're more tired. You play 2 or 3 games for practice, and the rest of the hour or two you play for fun. On non-work days, you play 2 to 3 hours of practice where you're going in with goals in mind, fully focused, whatever, and then the rest of the hours are fun. Even if they are competitive, even if it's a different game mode, you're not fully focused on practicing. You're just playing for fun, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I got that.
Okay, I know I just kind of like info dumped you right here. Do you have any questions about warm-up or with this training regimen or so far?
Nope, I'm tracking.
Okay, makes sense. Goals, rank up, meet new friends. What do you feel is holding you back from improving? I feel like my mechanics are above average for my rank. Given how much you play, that makes sense. However, my decision-making can be lackluster, and I fail to adapt if my team is getting swept. Talk to me through that a little bit.
So we'll have games where I start out and I'm just, excuse my language, but I am just shitting on these guys.
Yeah.
And then normally what ends up happening is that we'll steamroll and then people catch on that I'm the problem. And then I just get hard focused and I can't particularly do anything. And it doesn't matter what character I switch to, I've become a problem for the enemy team. So, and this is all the time, and I have people even admit it in game. So yeah, that's kind of just the issue.
When they talk about focusing you down, like what does that usually look like? Is it like hit scan, or is it just generally the attention of the enemy team is always placed on you?
I had a game on Dorado where my buddy and I were playing, and he was playing Mercy, and I was playing Echo, and we were attacking, and enemy Mauga would just sit up on the high ground and just wait. He would let everybody pass, and then wait till we came out, and then just follow us, no matter where we went. And my team, I kept telling my team, hey guys, this Mauga is feeding. Let's all just focus him down really quick and then sweep. Well, no one was really listening to me. So he would come through, and sometimes I would win, and sometimes he would win. But it wasted a lot of time because I couldn't go help my team because I had to deal with them. I can't really just ignore them.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, so give me a couple other examples here. If
Other
any
examples?
come to mind, sure.
Of
just not
where
dealing
I'm
with
getting focused
attention.
down?
Not dealing with attention. Yeah.
I guess a big consistent issue is because I think hit scan are really strong in this game. So I have to, maps that don't have a lot of vertical cover, I have to play way far in the back of my team and just kind of get poke damage until my ult is up, and then I make plays.
Okay.
So if the enemy team's playing a lot of whatever, or I'm seeing that they're switching to hit scan, and that I know that they've been looking at me recently, I kind of just have to play a little passively. That's what people passively.
Makes sense. Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest skills that you can invest into in Overwatch, no matter really what you play. Especially if you're playing like an aggressive DPS character or an aggressive tank player. It's like you better get used to somebody deciding that you're the problem and counterpicking, right? It's partly a problem of ignorance. It's partly a problem of just it feels good to deal with the threat. But knowing how to deal with that attention is really important. I'm sure we'll talk about that. I don't really have anything else from your forum that stands out. I think we could probably just go ahead and look at replay codes if you have any.
Yeah, I've been saving some since I made the appointment.
Okay, excellent.
Let's see here. Career profile, history, replays. So I got, let's see here. Any of these with notes we could look at. I've got 4 defeats and 2 victories.
I would say anything that's close, whether it's victory or defeat, and maybe any one where you felt confused about what to do. So either the matchup was hard, the map was hard, or maybe it's one of those examples where you said that they turned all their attention to you and you really couldn't handle it well.
Okay, the note I've got for this one says, Ultimate, where I duplicated on an attack, was intended to keep Sigma up. I was aware we had Mercy, but I duplicated Ana to potentially nano him for damage reduction and deny enemies value if they pushed up. So I think this one was actually a really close game.
Okay.
If I remember correctly, I played. This is the one that was like a long time ago. So let's see here. There's your first code.
Got it. Okay. So repeat to me, what about this code made it appealing for what we're looking at here?
I didn't particularly talk about any, like, the game in general. I talked about one specific moment. Let me see
Sure.
where I put in here. I vaguely remember what I was talking about.
Sure. I'm seeing Circuit here, which can be a bit of a trickier map for Echo.
I love Circuit Royale.
Really? Where do you find value on with Circuit Royale?
For this map?
Why do you like it so much?
Because, can you see my screen right now?
I can't. Let me restart watching your screen. Yes, I can now.
Okay, so on attack,
I'm seeing this.
there's almost always a support sitting right here on these chairs. So I come up over the building, stickies, 2 shots, focusing beam, they're dead. And sometimes I don't even commit to going over the building. I'll just do it from afar, because if you land all the stickies, especially in Ana who's scoped in, and the game just started, they're not thinking about that. They're just gonna sit still with their scope. So I can land every
True.
sticky, maybe get 2 shots in on them, and then they're dead.
True.
About half my games I play, I can get that off.
True. Okay. Anything else? Because generally, it can be it can be tricky on times on first point to get good spam angles. How have you found it?
Spam angles?
Yeah, just angles to do damage.
Yeah, so sometimes I'll sit under the bridge, behind the car, like on first point if I'm defending.
Sure.
My buddy knows when he plays Mercy that on every map, as soon as the spawn doors open, as soon as Athena says 1, sticky bombs go towards their door.
Yep.
If a squishy runs out and they're not paying attention, that's almost always a kill with the Mercy damage boost.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions here before we get started with this?
I have problems with dealing with ball because a lot of I don't think anybody particularly expects me to deal with ball, but as the damage, I feel like I should at least be doing enough to him to where he feels like he should F off. So it's really hard to consistently land stickies on him because he just moves so friggin' fast.
Yeah.
And he can get out of there, turn corners. I physically don't have enough time to get focusing beam on him, and his health pool is just so big. I can't whittle him down unless I get like an anti-air in him or something.
Yep, absolutely. I would say it's really not your job to deal with any character in isolation, right? Your job is just to put out pressure, and certain characters you're better at, and certain characters you're worse at. But it's still, like for example, a wrecking ball, it's less a question of can I deal with ball and more of if I were to deal with ball, how should I approach that 1v1? Like, for example, you would never want to use your stickies when he's moving, right? You always want to hit your stickies right as he slams or right after he slams if he pulls the gun out, if that makes sense, right? Really important.
It does.
Beam, right? Generally not something that you're going to be getting on Wrecking Ball very often for the reasons that you kind of elaborated on earlier. And also in terms of avoiding his damage, like using your verticality and using your flight so that you don't get slammed, right? If you get slammed and then you miss your stickies and then you're going to die, right? So I would say beyond that, you don't really need to worry about it. Like even just a big stickies on when he slams after, like that's probably a lot with any follow-up from your team to discourage him from being around it. And if it's not, well, then that's not your problem. So I think like, and that kind of goes for everybody here. Like if we looked at the entire enemy comp, Doomfist, when he blocks, make sure you don't feed punch or at least land full stickies so that right after the block ends, he gets hit by the stickies. Or, Junkrat, get an angle to where he can't shoot you out of the sky. Cassidy, try to find the element of surprise on him whenever you can. Don't get too close to get hindered unless you have stickies. Or Ana, catch her when she's scoped and don't be on the floor. And like there's like little individual matchups versus all these characters, but it's never really any one person's job to deal with a specific threat. Because if you think about it this way, if you go... let's play this out just a little bit here. Like if you say, okay, it is my job to deal with this wrecking ball. I have to deal with this wrecking ball. You're going to find yourself chasing him around the entire map, which is going to be really bad for you. If you say, oh, it's my job to deal with the Cassidy, you're going to have to flank every single time and try to catch him with your pants down and open space where he's probably going to kill you every single time, right? It's never your job to do any one thing. It's just your job to pressure from an angle wherever you feel Echo is most able to position comfortably. And that's usually going to be verticality, cover, medium range, kind of sort of, right? She's kind of got the hybrid of that short range pressure versus poke, right? So that's kind of what we're looking for, if that makes sense. Okay. Weird rollout here.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Normally there's someone who comes straight out of the door.
Oh yeah, they had a little rollout. Like right there, for example. Like that's really all you needed to do. You chipped his overshields down, you chipped some of his armor down, you forced him out, and now you're just poking out the Doom. Yeah, this is fine. And again, right? Like that's all fine. So this is 6v6, so there's going to be some small adjustments, but not a ton from how I would coach 5v5. So a lot of the stuff we're going to talk about here are going to be the same with 5v5, same with 6v6. Stickies are pretty reasonable there. Not exactly where you'd want them. I think you aimed a little too far. Shields are really useful, case in point.
Yep, because Moira is ignorant.
yeah, that's how it goes. And I think this is kind of what I was talking about when you think too much about what is my job in terms of threats to my team, and less to do what makes sense for you. Like, for example, right now, you've got Doomfist, you've got Hitscan, you've got Torbjorn, you've got all these characters holding this choke, spamming at you right here. You have to not only pressure them, but you have to respect their ability to shoot you out of the sky. But if you look at it from their perspective, because you're focusing on ball, look at how you position here. Look at how much space that you give them, and look at how many opportunities you gave them to shoot you.
Just because I turned around.
Because you turned around to deal with the ball. Now, it's not that you should ignore ball all the time, but because you were here, and he was all the way over here, it's really not your responsibility. These guys are closer. Deal with them first. And if they poke you out and you have to leave, then sure, you leave. That's no problem. Does it make sense?
Okay. It does.
If the tables were turned and, the ball was like right here and the hit scans are over here, I'd be like, stop looking at the hit scans, deal with this freaking ball right here, right? He's right in front of you. And that's one of the really nice things about Echo is she's probably one of the least target priority focused DPS in the entire game because she could do so much damage to anything, tank or not. It's just whatever's close. Okay. Sure, pretty reasonable. Little bit too far from cover, so I liked you following here, and then you flew up. I'm like, be very careful. Like, you're extremely, extremely fragile. I mean, you know this. You don't need me to tell you this. Like, Echo's insanely fragile, and you probably should have been killed for that there. So, I like your approach here. I can tell that you're trying to come in from verticality, catch him by surprise. Unfortunately, the tables have turned because somebody else took an angle on you, right?
Ana.
She got you. So here's what I'm going to have you do. This is probably the most important skill that you can learn in Overwatch with any character. This is one angle that you could approach. With the power of hindsight, knowing where they are right now, give me another angle. You have flight. Give me another angle. Maybe just a slight adjustment of what you already did.
Over by the blue umbrella.
You got it.
On the
you got it.
Ground.
You got it. In fact, you don't even need to peek this here because this doesn't feel very comfortable for me peeking in Ana like this. You could do this, freaking here, right here, off of this the staircase on the other angle here. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So then, as they walk here, I mean, how on earth are they going to deal with you here?
Also, sorry, this is a little random, but while I'm
Go for
thinking
it.
about it, I'm partially colorblind, so I've got colorblind settings on.
That's fine. That's fine.
But the issue with Overwatch is that they don't let you change colors on certain things. So, ball mines, very, very consistently, I'll just walk into them, never know they were there.
Oh, that sucks. That sucks.
Yeah,
You know, it's
it
funny.
does.
The last time I was in Irvine, they were doing a playtest thing. There's a content creator named Ruben, and he was talking with one of the devs, one of my friends, who's also colorblind on there. And they were ranting about how they got to fix some of the colorblind things. So I think that there's been some conversation going that direction, if that makes you feel any better. I don't know if that's something that they're working on, but it's definitely something that people are crying about.
Yeah,
'Cause that
shields
sucks.
and
That
ultimates, you can't change the colors of them. So I would love to make ultimates and shields yellow like the enemy team, but I can't. They're red, and so sometimes I just don't see them.
Interesting.
Also, Sojourn's area denial ability,
Yeah.
I'll very consistently just stand in it. It's not until I hear Echo go, "Ugh," that I understand that I'm in it.
Right, the disruptor shot. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I could give them some feedback on that after the session's done. At least drop it in there. I don't know if they'll be able to do anything, but it's certainly not an egregious question to ask. So, okay,
Yeah.
good to know. Yeah, let's keep going here. Good call on the blue umbrella. This is exactly where you should be. It's because it has a different angle from the rest of your team, right? So we have some threats here, most of our threats here. You might as well use your mobility to get here because there's more cover and it's a bit sneakier. That's pretty much all that you want. Because you can kind of see, even though you don't die, it's not as much damage, not as much pressure as I would have liked, right? I want more uptime, more poking, more damage, more things. And you can only really do that from that position here. Because you couldn't do it from there, you would have died. And you can kind of see it's even harder to land stickies, right? Because everyone's, peeking this corner, knowing that they're looking down the pipe of pain, right? Like they're strafing, they're juking, they're like, okay, right? And so it's hard to land stickies, but they're not thinking about this, right? Not as much as they will, not as much as they are in main anyway. Okay. Like those are really good stickies, but it shouldn't be that hard, right? So if you're here, you have your flight. Again, where's the next rotation? It's to here. It's to here, right? That's kind of where we're looking for. Just a different angle, a little bit closer, and not right down the gullet. Yeah, good. Nice. Good stuff. Same kind of thing here. Shoot him, shoot him, shoot him. Maybe even go for stickies from here, but don't leave. Why?
Because then I'm giving up pressure.
Correct. If there was literally nobody else left alive, then yeah, you might as well. There's nothing else better to do. But you need this position. You need to be here. So don't chase. You see, that's kind of the problem. You're giving that ball value because he's able to pressure, pull you out of position, and he didn't really take that much damage either. Nice stickies.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now you're like, you can do whatever you want. There's really nothing else to do, so you might as well chase him. Okay. Now, which perk do you have equipped here?
Duplicate gives 3 extra seconds on time.
I like that one better.
I do too, because there's a lot of durational ults where you just barely pop it and then it's just gone.
Yep, I
so
agree.
the extra 3 seconds gives you more time.
I agree.
Especially with Nano.
I agree. I find very few situations where I think copying my teammate is really, really important. You talked about it earlier where you'll pick something based off of the need. I'll go one further than that. I generally pick something when I coach Echo based off of the position that I want to play. So, for example, if I really, really, really want this angle here, right, and they're hard pushing and I fly up and over, I'm really not concerned about what I copy. I will copy anything from this, but it's more important for me to get here and cause chaos in the enemy backline and live, right? As Zen here, Ana, Cassie, Torb, Doom, and Ball. All of them can function from this position. Now, I might prioritize one that has easier value, like it's really easy to pick an Ana and just throw an aid. If this was 5v5, it's really easy to just pick a Roadhog and live in their backline. But in general, I think it's mostly important that you prioritize a good aggressive angle and less so anything else. This is a situation where focusing ball is good, right? He's close, now he's out, now you go back and take your angle. But you can already right now start thinking about, I'm going to take that left angle here. So this is where I want us to do a little bit more setup for your ult.
Okay.
Because if you're going to copy, is this the most aggressive angle? Now, I don't want you to run in the middle of the enemy team, right? But could you angle here? Could you angle here prior to copying? I think the answer is yes. Heck, could you have been here earlier and then fly up to here and copy instead? You kind of get what I'm saying?
Yes.
That's kind of what I want to see. I mean, there's even a world here, maybe not versus a ball Doom because it might chase you down, but there's a world versus some comps, especially in 5v5, where I'd fly up and over and I'd hard flank and I'd copy Ana from here.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying?
I do.
This is kind of like the limit testing that you want because you have that mobility, because you have that second life. And then when you're here, I don't even copy immediately. I dump my cooldowns. I wait till I'm low, and then I pop the copy, right? So the Zen copy is fine. I don't really care who you copy, but it sucks that you had an extra life, and then what did you do with it?
Zenyatta.
You just kind of picked another character, you know? Like,
Yeah.
that's not the power of copy. The power of copy is not necessarily opening up a third support. The power of copy is being able to have that support DPS or tank in a position that you otherwise couldn't get without getting shot and killed. Do you see what I'm saying?
Sorry, could you say that again?
Sure. The power of copy is not necessarily having a person on the battlefield. That's different than what you have. Because technically you're losing echo pressure right now for Zenyatta pressure. Is
Yes.
Zen a better hero than Echo? I mean, I don't know. What's valuable...
Depends on the situation.
It depends on the situation, right? What is valuable is the ability to put that Zenyatta wherever you want.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying? Like, for example, if I could choose to have Zenyatta anywhere without fear of repercussions, why not here? Right? Imagine if Zen could just be here and just teleport to here. How powerful that would be. Well, that's what you just did, or what you could have just done. You get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Look at this angle here. Even if you die, think about that. When I gave the Ana example, imagine if Grandma just like all of a sudden like was like an Olympic like pole vaulter and pole vaulted up over the flank here and ended up on the back line. You know what I'm saying? Like how freaky weird would that would be, and how valuable that would be for chaos and getting kills. And I have the high ground Anakin and all that kind of stuff, right? So I'm fine with the Zen copy. I think the Zen copy is totally reasonable. The problem is this, and then I think maybe it was the Wrecking Ball, to be fair, but then we're back here. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
And so yeah, we got the Doom who was going to die anyway. But then what can we do now? Well, we don't really have vision much of anything. And the irony is that you probably should have died to Ball there, even though you did run away from him. So I don't want you to worry about so much who you're copying, but I do want you to think about where. Can I take a high ground? Can I get it deep in my angle? Can I flank? Can I, for example, if I'm on a flank, there's a Tracer on me all of a sudden. Well, guess what? I'm not dying to you, Tracer, at this 1v1. I'm copying you. I'm going to kill you, and then I'm going to get back to my Echo. You get what I'm saying? So
yes.
That's kind of what I want to see is, I don't mind the copy, but I do mind where you were when you copied. That's the key thing. Okay. By the way, I know I have standard colors. Is this okay? Like, are you able to follow here? I honestly didn't think about asking before we started.
Okay. The only reason why I have enemy colors changed on my side is because red isn't obvious, which is why, like, if I look hard enough, I can see it. It's just if I'm not looking out for it, it's really hard to see it.
Okay. If at any point I say anything that's like, wait, what? Just let me know.
Tracking.
Good skin, by the way. My favorite skin is the skin I use for Echo as well.
Thank you.
It's really cool. Again, fine. Fine because you're here, so you might as well shoot Wrecking Ball. But I question why we're here, I think, as if anything, as opposed to, again, going back to this angle here, given where our team is. Does that make sense?
So why is it that you have this... I don't want to make it sound rude or anything, but like obsession with this high ground.
Sure.
Because it's like, is it more so that you want to see me switching up where I'm standing so that they don't just expect me to be in the same spot every time, or is it because just high ground is more powerful?
Sure.
Because it's arguably it's the same angle. You know what I mean? It's just the difference is that one's on the
slightly higher
floor and one's slightly higher.
Well, you tell me. I don't know how much experience that you have in combat games or combat in general, in terms of things that are good, things that are bad. If you have a choke point here, What's the
They're more
benefit
likely
of,
to just spam to the choke.
right? Okay, so let's start with that. So they're more likely to turn their attention, all of their attention, in this direction and accidentally do damage to you. We've actually already seen that a couple of times with poke from Torbjorn and a couple of shots from Zenyatta. Okay, that's good to know. Avoid random poke. That's one thing. Okay, what else does being here provide as opposed to here? You said high ground.
It
High
splits
ground.
their attention.
Okay, well, hang on. So split their attention. What's the value in that?
Now it's relieving pressure from my team.
Okay. So you avoid random spam and you alleviate pressure from your team. Okay, let's talk about risk.
Okay.
Is there an increased risk out of being here? We talked about avoiding random spam, but you are, I wouldn't say isolated, but you are not stacked in the middle of your team. Is there a greater risk out of holding this position than where you were before?
If I'm sitting there on the stairs, not necessarily, because
Why
they
not?
don't have an angle on me from there. But if I'm peeking, then yes.
Yes.
Like from up there,
Yeah.
over by the umbrella.
Right. Why?
Because now Zen, the issue I would run into is that Zen's charging his volley.
Yep.
I decide I'm gonna pick off Zen from this position right here. I go up the stairs, peek. He's about to throw that stuff down main. He sees me, whips to the top right, doinks me in the face, and I'm dead.
Right. So the question, is it the problem, the fact that you're on an angle, or is the problem that you're peeking as Zenyatta from longer range?
Longer range.
Right, that's the same thing. And we saw that earlier because remember when you did this versus the Ana? It's the same problem. So the problem wasn't the angle, but the range of where you peaked. A lot of people will watch my videos and they become obsessed with angles, but then they will try to tickle people from 40 meters on Tracer and complain that angles don't work. Well, that's not the right angle for Tracer. For Echo, you're pretty flexible with range. Like you can peak this stuff. I just wouldn't necessarily do it versus an Ana or Zen. You know what I'm saying? If it's a Winston,
Yeah.
sure. Tracer, sure. Why not? That's the flexibility of your character, but not this guy, right? Not this guy. So we talked about a little bit of high ground. You have cover. You are splitting their attention. You're avoiding spam down main. There's another reason why these angles can be useful. Because if you think about what you have often ended up shooting because you've had no other choice, it's been this. Which isn't terrible. You're not bad versus tanks. But even when you like to look to use copy, right? What are your options for pressure? Who can you shoot? Who can you pressure? Who do you have access to right now?
Right now, just the ball.
Right, and not even that, really.
Because he's on his way out, yeah.
Right, so what ends up happening is they're going to turn this corner here, and this is what you're going to see. You know what I'm saying? So now you could argue, oh, well, it might have died here. Yeah, you might have. There's a chance. There's always a risk with any position that you take. You might die to this now, right? And your Pharah did, right? Even though she wasn't on an angle. But the point being is that you limit the number of targets, though you limit the number of choices of who you can pressure and where. You're basically only limited to who present themselves on the front line, which more often than not is going to be a tank. It's going to be a shield. It's going to be people that are strafing and so on. So you often reduce the pressure that you put out. You often increase the risk. And then when you have something like an ultimate, like a copy that can allow you to go even more aggressive, you still can't do anything with it because your angle's poor. You see how uncomfortable this is, right? There is nothing that you could do from this position. You have to, even if you were perfect with your stickies, which you've been doing a really good job with. I want to clarify, like I think your placement with your stickies is actually really good considering what you're shooting at, right? This is impossible. Like this is impossible to approach. And now the problem is that now because we screwed up this choke, this is not echo-friendly space, right? Why?
There's not a lot of vertical cover.
There's not a lot of vertical cover anywhere, right? Now, I'm honestly struggling, like, even if you were a great echo, maybe you could, like, play here and poke the tank, you know, or, like... If you had copy, maybe you could like do a quick fly up to here and copy here and then hold here. But there's just really nowhere to go, right? And that's part of the problem sometimes with Circuit. But also that's just the consequence of not necessarily choosing the best angle for the situation. So, you know, there's going to be some points that are stronger for you. There's going to be some points that are stronger for Echo. There's going to be, Cassie. There's going to be some points that are stronger for Tracer. And this is not a strong Echo location. Okay. Does all that make sense?
Yeah. I'm just
Okay.
trying to think of an alternative because
Now,
they
when you,
have.
go ahead.
So I'm just thinking about the situation. Like, what else could I have done differently here?
I think
And
at that point, it was
the way I
probably
see
too
it is
late.
that if I play like as they were pushing up there as they turned that corner,
Mhm.
like you're right, it probably was too late. But even from my experience, if I get too close, like I'm a poke character. If I get too close, I just get whittled down, and it's a lot harder for me to get out.
Yeah, so you'd have to be selective about peeking here and then peeking here and then poking here and then okay, I have to fly out, so I fly up and over, but I fly up and over using the bridge for cover, right?
Well, what about just prior to them touching the cart on the checkpoint?
So,
Because that's what I'm thinking about right now.
oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, so
Yeah.
in terms of where you can go, not really very anywhere easy. The best thing that you could do is do kind of what you did here, which is land all your stickies and pray for the best, right? Or getting here and poking out the tank while avoiding
Yeah.
the Cassidy. Like you could poke a tank while avoiding the hit scan, kind of a thing, right? Something that you probably have done many times. That's something that you can absolutely do. The problem here is that they had used ultimates. You guys only used Doom ultimate. You've got people in spawn and you're out of position, right? So it would have taken a miracle for you guys to cap this or to hold this. It would have taken a miracle.
Or a few ultimates.
Or a few ultimates, right? So I think it's really important that you don't look at every single fight and be like, okay, what could we have done because every single fight is winnable. That's technically true, but we don't want to waste time thinking about the worst possible circumstance when there are other lower hanging fruits. You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
You put yourself in a bad situation. Let's focus on how you got there and not about how to win an impossible situation.
Understood.
This is okay in terms of cover. Okay, so in terms of your angle, your position, we've got some pressure from here. We've got some pressure from here. Do you see any position or angle that feels comfortable with what your character can do? Do you like where you're at? Where would you go? Where would you deepen? You have ultimate. Should you deepen? Should you go? Who should you shoot? I'm just going to kind of open the floor to you here.
So I like that angle where I'm at right now.
I do too.
Because there's vertical cover, which is great for me as a flyer. I can shoot anybody who decides to, like Ana, for example. I've noticed as they're pushing cart, they really like to sit behind the payload and hold it as cover. Well, from that angle right there, I can throw stickies right behind the payload and get anybody there.
Right. Right.
I've got ultimate up, so I actually just popped it. Okay, yeah. I dupe ball and I slam because I saw that they were all in a tight group, and that's 100 damage each, which means immediate ultimate. So, see how this plays out.
Notice the difference. Now, you did kind of run it down mid a little bit, but this is one of those moments where you are using the second life to get to a position that you otherwise wouldn't have been able to get. You get what I'm saying? Now,
Yes.
Here's what I'm going to force you to do. I'm going to have you go back and say, you're not allowed to copy ball. How do you play this? Who do you copy? When do you copy? Give me an alternative. I like the ball copy. I like how you did the ball copy, but I want you to come up with another plan. Just for fun.
Then let's do... And I'm only restricted to the enemy team, right? Because of my perks.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a few things I could do. We have a lot of hit scans on the enemy team. I would say the most consistent one is probably Cassidy.
Sure.
So if I've got an extra life, like you're saying, then I could go to the pillar where Sari is standing, the Doomfist. Duplicate him, the Cassidy, and then do some poke damage.
You could
roll in for an ultimate.
You could. That's a great one. Yeah, like hold a different angle instead.
Yeah, they have a Risa as well, so I could hold that angle right underneath the forwardmost palm tree, like on that corner. And then I could, as the cart's pushing up, I could potentially use the E to shove them off the high ground.
Yep.
Like the spinny spear.
Yep. You sure could. You could even let them push a little bit forward to here and then do the exact same thing that you're doing here, but fly out to here and copy from this position here, like this little green thing here.
That's
another thing.
incredibly aggressive.
Yeah, exactly. But it's what your luxury has, right? So okay, this looks good. This is aggressive position. This is well timed because this fight has started, right? Like your team is engaging on this, right? Poking on this. So I have high hopes of this. You might blow up instantly, but you will do a lot of pressure. More of a critique of Wrecking Ball, which I can't believe I'm doing this, but get the slam, roll through, go. Don't sit there and shoot.
Gotcha.
But yeah, beyond that, like your team kind of got murked. But I think from your perspective, this is an acceptable copy. It was well set up. It was fine, no problem.
So it was more of an issue of them not following up.
Yeah, I mean, it could always be done better on your end. I think, like I said, the slam into the shooting was not the play versus that comp. You slam, roll away, and look at that CC and damage, right? You're going to blow up. So just roll through. But again, I'm not going to sit here and critique ball micro too much, okay? That's probably not going to be...
I think...
It was good enough.
I think it was more so me just trying to get the ult so I could pop it.
Yeah,
Because it was a good spot to pop the ult.
Yep, I understand. 100%. Okay. Okay, poke him out. He's gone. And then now we got to do some serious thought about how we're going to position. So we're down one, so we're going to give some space. Do you like this position where you're at right now? I'm kind of like let you migrate. Yeah, I think so too. I think with where this fight's going to go, this I don't like here. Why? This specific angle, why?
It's not aggressive enough.
It's not aggressive enough, and it's opening you up to this, which you're never going to win. Like it's both too aggressive or not aggressive enough, and also too risky because of this. You get what I'm saying? Like it's like this moment where you're peeking a long sightline versus an Ana. Like why? Right? I know why it's stickies, but it's not good enough for me. The second thing that's worth pointing out here is, as you said, is because you can compress your sightlines like this. This is not only more aggressive, but it's probably safer in the short term. Why?
Okay. There's multiple places I can get out from.
Right.
I have that left room.
Right.
The room to your left.
Let's talk about cover.
Behind you.
Let's talk about cover, right? If Ana's going to contest you from here, she's going to have to walk into a space that's very uncomfortable. Right? And then you could also avoid her sightlines and poke tank. And obviously we can see the value of that as well. So what I'm seeing here is when we talk about aggression, I'm not saying hard flank the enemy backline necessarily, but I want you to think more laterally, more horizontal, more east-west, rather than north-south when it comes to aggression with this character. Does that make sense?
Okay.
It's not so much about like how far forward I want you to play or how far backward. It's about utilizing the natural cover and the verticality that this map provides to do things that are either really aggressive like this, where there's a big reward, or very passive like this, where there isn't a big reward, but there's a very low risk. You can just sit there and poke tank for free. Whereas this, either you're not contributing at all, or you're getting sniped by an Ana, or you're in the front line and dying anyway. That's the mistake that I want to see more consistently addressed with your positioning. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So I want to watch, I think, one more fight here, and then I'd like to look at another map entirely just to get more practice of kind of solving that. Instead of just only
heads
looking
up,
at circuit.
it was like 10 minutes left.
Yep, that's fine.
Okay.
I don't mind running a few minutes over if we need to.
Okay.
I think this is the right perk. I just haven't seen enough value out of the flight reset. I think situationally good.
I didn't pick flight reset. It's stickies, extra stickies.
That's what I'm saying. I agree with you. Yeah, no,
I'm
saying I don't see enough value out of flight reset consistently. Certainly not in a situation when you're going to be getting sniped frequently.
I agree.
So,
plus, like, why would I not fulfill the role that I signed up for, which is more damage? You know what I mean?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it depends. Like, if you're dueling a lot on the angle, like, it could be useful, but it doesn't. When I pick Echo and I pick that, I get that reset like 2 or 3 times. Maybe not even 1 or 2 times the entire match where it's actually relevant, right? Whereas the stickies, it's going to be relevant dozens and dozens and dozens of times. So this is another situation here. So you know where Wrecking Ball is. He is out here. So you have flight here. What angle, let's again think laterally here, is available to you because of where the Wrecking Ball is, which is not in. He's out. He's gone.
That window.
Right. So swing here. Swing here, save your flight, listen for Wrecking Ball. If he comes in, you got to fly out quick. That's okay. Then you can kind of hold this angle here and fight him in front of your supports, right? But this is, I want to see stickies, and I want to see primary fire, and I want to disengage. Primary fire stickies, again, if they fly out, do it. You know? Because this is like, you can kind of see how uncomfortable it is to be where you are right now. It's still awkward. It's still risky. It still feels like a Widowmaker would do what you're doing right now infinitely better, even if you didn't hit headshots. Right?
That's true.
You know? You're not using your mobility much. And now you're like, okay, well, it's time to go, but it's too late. It's too late. Like, this is good. This is using your mobility, but your entire team's dead. So it doesn't matter how much you do, right? It doesn't matter. Okay, I want to look at another map here.
Okay. Let me get you a replay code.
Sure.
Do you want to do a different game mode too?
I'm indifferent, to be honest. Indifferent. Because, I mean, I think the circuit's pretty an extreme example of long sightlines, so I think anything would be fine.
Yeah. I'll just do a completely different game. We won this one. It was push. It's New Queen Street.
Got it.
So it's just a complete 180.
Sure.
And then I had a timestamp on here. It's 8:50.
8:50.
So I guess I had a good play there.
Let's check it really fast. As first things first here.
Okay.
Oh,
I think it was time left. Or actually, no. I think this is it.
Yeah, I mean, look at the not everything's about a flank either, right? Like in terms of like flank would be like all the way behind the enemy team, kind of what you did last fight in circuit, right? Whereas an angle is just, you know, I mean, you could see it right here. You've got pressure from here, and you're just a little bit off to the side, right? You may not want a hard flank if they're on trace or Samba ball, you know, because you'll get caught with your pants down. But if you're in front of your supports, just shooting a little bit from the side, this looks really good.
Yeah.
This looks really good. Oh my days. Okay, so I'm gonna be the Debbie
Your
Downer.
screen's frozen right now, actually.
All right, refresh the stream for me.
Okay.
Leave and rejoin. And let me know when you're done, and I'll unpause it.
Okay, I'm good.
Okay, look good.
Yes.
Angle good. Now let's see if you could test your new your copy knowledge here. So you're gonna copy Ana here. From where should you copy Ana?
Sorry, the screen's frozen again.
I'm paused here. I'm paused here, so that might be why. Can you see it moving now?
Yeah. Okay. So that's weird. It only freezes if I make it full screen.
That's strange.
Yeah. Okay. So from here.
Because you can deepen your angle here just a little bit.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. I'm trying to figure out what you're getting at.
Sure.
Are you asking me what I should duplicate?
No, I think the Ana duplicate is fine. Where? Where is the position that because you have a second life, you can get away with a copy without getting punished?
In that little like cybernetics shop.
Yeah,
with
you
the
could
blue
go
and red banner.
You could go all the way to here. You were ready for something even more convenient? Just use your flight to get to here and copy from here. You've got cover. You can hold the angle here. It just means that they can't disengage it. They can't run away from it. It's impossible. There's nowhere for them to go, right? Now, you notice that I'm not copying in the middle of the enemy team. I'm still kind of staying on the outside here, right? And I'm not also doing so where I have cover, right? But this is kind of what I want to see. So I notice that you tend to go up and then behind your team for cover. You see that? That's a tendency that we saw with the Zenyatta as well. I want you instead to swing a little wide and stay cover, not open space, but cover wide. Like, if anything, if we could sum up our session, it's like not up middle, but wide. Still up if you need to, but wide. Swing wider to cover. That being said, the Ana copy is really good. And holy crap. We'll take that one.
The sleep.
Yes, that is gorgeous.
That felt great because that guy switched to with the 6v6. All they need to do is just find 6 or 12 people that are gold. So I'm constantly getting the same people over and over again. This is like the third game we played against each other. He was cursing me out every match, and he was switched to Echo for the ego duel. So when I slept on there, I was like, "Sit down." I didn't say that. I didn't say it. I didn't want to be talked to.
You should have. No, you don't need to be taught. You just question mark. That's all you do. That's my strategy. Question mark. Question mark. Yeah. Beautiful nade. Beautiful sleep. The copy itself is good. And so you kind of see what you're doing, right? You're like, I mean, look at how you're positioned, right? Who cares, right? Who cares? You have a second life. You're not going to get punished. I think your team's healthy enough here to where I would have kept shooting the the Naga.
I've kind of learned to play passively because I find more value in getting the ultimate up than because like
True.
I used to play really aggressively and then I
True.
would just die in 3 seconds.
Well,
and
see,
then
do you
I'm
know?
like,
See, that's the difference between your definition of aggressive and what I want you to adopt is the definition of aggressive. Aggressive in terms of the angle that you play and what you're doing, and not standing in the open. It's cover. That's the difference, right? So if you stand here, let me shift your perspective of what we're looking at here. So you go for the copy here. Instead of standing here, stand here and just shoot. Pop, 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 heal, pop, heal, pop, pop. You get what I'm saying? That's just a minor difference, right? Just as risky as where you're at right now, but with better sightlines. That's all. I agree with you. Getting farm that ult, 100%. Like the end goal for both of us is the exact same, right? But how we're getting there is better, a little bit more consistent, and less reliant off of your teammate taking the proper amount of damage either. Especially at 66, you could farm ults off of tanks way easier. I don't know how that.
I didn't understand. So I reviewed this clip. I think it hit just.
It hit the ledge, I think.
Yeah, it hit the ledge, and the ledge like cut it off.
Yeah, it just disappeared into the void. Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
I think you're still good though, because these stickies and then Ryan. Yeah, you should be okay.
Okay, so do you agree with me that like what I had initially said is that the skill with the character isn't the issue; it's the decision making.
When I say the skill of the character, I think when I say skill of the character, I think of how you're using your stickies, how you're using your beam, the thought process behind your copy, maybe even the mechanics. Yeah, I'd mostly agree. I would say that there's stronger points for a gold player, right? But your migration to kind of continually migrate back towards center, and not utilizing your mobility is a weakness of yours.
Understood.
It's a weakness of yours. Now, I want to look at a couple of fights here to confirm that. It's still a small sample size, right? But from what I'm seeing so far, yeah, I would say. Like, for example, right now, I like this positioning, but I want to see how this migrates as the fight goes, right? Like, you're using your verticality. You know pressure from your team's going to come this way. You don't want to be in open space here. This probably isn't an angle. It's going to feel very good right now. But this seems pretty good. But let's see how it devolves, right? How is it going to go? Like, this is still good. Good angle. Get poked a little bit. You're good. And this is where it ends. You see it? This is what I was expecting, right? So you got poked a little bit. It's okay, but you're fine. You have ranged heal. You have shields, and you're still at like 200 HP. What should you do? Poke by Cass. Poke by Ana. Poke by Kiri. Okay, now what?
Stay there.
Stay there, right? Maybe not peek the exact same window, but you could drop, throw stickies, fly up. You could swing wide. You could peek here and then swing wide this way. If you see there's no hit scan here and ego this guy. Just control any space, control any angle rather than being here. Because this is the problem, is you waste these sticky mechanics throwing it down on main from 40 meters on people that are already 80-80 strafing your Zarya or Ana. You know what I'm saying? And so your sticky mechanics are not bad. You're not using them. And so then you go in the angle, okay, this is good, but you've already wasted your stickies in main. So now when you take actually take an angle, you don't have the stickies to complement it anymore. You see that? Like, imagine stickies right now. This is a good position. I want to give you credit. But then you throw stickies. This is good. This is good. This is good. This is good. You're just kind of keeping that tank busy. Fly to avoid the hook. Yeah, see, this is what we wanted to see. This is beautiful. Respect the tank, but if I play this correctly and use cover and use my flight and hit my stickies, I'm going to make you bleed, right? And even 5v5, 66, it doesn't matter. This is good. This is a good play. We're not worried about target priority here. We're just worried about applying pressure. And look at that Kiriko. The hog is completely smoked. The Kiriko has to stop what she's doing to help the hog, and you're just free to do whatever you want. And now the Kiriko might actually die. Yeah, exactly. Right? No concept of target priority. No concept of, oh, I'm scared because it's a tank. Just, I play cover. I play angle. I hit my CDs. You die. And I don't care who it is. Right?
Yeah. Seems a lot simpler when I'm on the call with you.
It is, and I think that's the complexity of Echo, right? Is it's not always obvious about which angle to take. I would say that Echo is one of the most complicated positioning characters in the game because she is so very fragile. Is she a poke character? Is she a close range character? It depends, right? When in Rome, right? Sniper characters, she's an up close flank character. Tracers, Genjis, Ryans, you don't want to play with them. You're a poke character, right? It's that hybrid that makes her so difficult. But that's also what makes her very fun. Okay. But honestly, I will say positioning wasn't perfect for me this fight, but it was better than I saw on circuit, which is probably why you won. You put out a lot more pressure than you did on spree. I mean, even look at your ult charge, right? Would you say your mechanics were insane? Not really. They were fine, I guess, but you just positioned yourself better than you did on circuit. And so you did more damage, so you did more pressure, and your team wins. Now, this gets a little bit trickier because think about the architecture of this map, right? If you were to swing wide in this angle here, this could feel good versus Roadhog and Malga, but why would this potentially feel bad? Ana, right. Cassidy, just general lack of cover. So maybe you could get all the way to here and just maybe live or die if your team supports you here. What are your other options? Give me another potential option here. I don't hate what you're doing right now, you know?
Yeah, that room's kind of off limits because Hog is sitting in there.
Yeah, true. Could you poke and prod in that room, though, is the question?
Yeah, the worry, though, is that if I go up to the window, like, from behind the robot,
I'm
just going to get hooked.
True. So you got to be
Actually, he just used it. But still, it's just like, even if I go in, I have to respect the fact that he's Hog, and we're in an enclosed room together.
Correct. So who says that you have to go in the room, though?
You're right. I could fly and sit on the train and poke him from there.
You could. You could even listen to where Cassidy is or where Rogue is and try a quick sticky fly out from here. There's options. Again, we kind of go back to that Circuit Royale first point moment where there are going to be certain points of the map which just are not friendly to you, right? And so you're going to have to be creative.
There's also an argument to be made, though, that if I'm doing that, then I'm not putting pressure on these people who are sitting on high ground, and the robot isn't moving as a result.
Well, see, that's where you're thinking about solving a fight like a problem and overcomplicating the issue. So you're right. This high ground is a major problem. But are you equipped to deal with this?
Yes.
Okay. How so?
I can fly.
Sure.
Is a lot more than my
So where
other
are you
teammate can
going
do.
to fly to deal with this high ground?
Towards the right side of your screen over by like that darkened window. I can use vertical cover from there. If I hold that angle, like if you fly over there, you can see I can see them as they walk into that high ground, and I can take care of them as they're just sitting there.
Do you feel safe from poking here? Now, obviously, in hindsight, this wouldn't have worked.
With Cassidy there, no. But if it was just Roadhog in that room and everybody was upstairs, absolutely, I would do that.
So you just found your angle then?
Yes.
So but this only works because there is a positional solution for you. If you see a problem, and it's a problem that you don't have a good position for, then it's not your problem.
Gotcha.
Everything is at sacrifice at the altar of applying pressure, and you can only apply pressure effectively from a cover or an angle that makes sense to you. I agree with you. This is it. But this is it not because the high ground's the problem, but because this angle has a lot of vertical cover. That's why.
Yeah.
That's why. If this wasn't here, this wouldn't be your problem. Your problem would just be to help as best as you can. That'd be like showing up to a moving day, and you can't even pick up a 5-pound dumbbell. Don't try to help with the piano. Do what you can do, right? Do what you can do, right? So the problem here is you aren't controlling any space. You aren't applying any pressure. You're migrating here. And then the worst thing is that if you do want to take an angle, you have to fly to get there and fly to get there in the open. Because when did you need to solve your angle? When did you need to solve your positioning? It needed to be now.
Yeah.
That's the hard part about Overwatch is you got to use that downtime. You got to do it quick. Because now it's too late.
Yeah.
Look at the space that they control. Roadhog controls left room, Echo's on right room, on high ground. A lot of that's defender's advantage, but you didn't even try to contest that, right? Now I'm kind of beating on you, but you know what I'm getting at.
No, I understand.
Good stickies. Like, again, your mechanics are there, right? It's really good that you're able to do that. But look at that. Look at there's Echo stickies, right? Like, she's significantly worse than you are, but she's just got a better position. She's got a better angle. And so she could just turn her brain off and hold mouse 1 right down this choke, and there's really nothing that your team can do.
Would you say that it'd be my job to go over there and take care of her?
If you were there, yes. If not, no.
Okay.
Because you would lose a lot of pressure to this Echo, but if you were here, for example, you would have gained just as much damage as she's doing onto this high ground. So it becomes a competition to who could do more pressure on the enemy team, not necessarily who wins the duel.
Whose job is it to go take care of Echo, who's sitting
Whoever's
over there?
there.
Just
Ana, Moira, Bastion, whatever. If you're coaching a team, this becomes a legitimate discussion that we have to play. But if you're playing in ranked, it's not. It's just who puts out the most pressure, right? You may not always have a solution for their problem, but you make yourself to be a problem just as big as she is. Okay. Right? The problem of thinking of, I have to deal with this because this is the problem, is you focus again on the target and not about whether you're equipped to deal with that problem, right? What if this was a tracer? You're not equipped to mark a tracer in this open space, right? You're going to die. So even if the tracer is a problem, you can't deal with that problem. That's not your job, right? So instead, you always focus on what can I bring to the table and not whether I can solve the problem or not. You may be able to. Like you were equipped well to deal with the high ground problem. Why?
Because I can fly, and I had an angle, and I had vertical
Because
cover.
you could fly. Right, because you could fly. But maybe you weren't equipped to deal with the Roadhog problem. Why?
He's in a room,
Yeah.
and I don't know if he has cooldowns at that point.
Right. Now we figured out maybe you could do this or maybe you could do that. But long story short was that you're not that guy for this problem necessarily, and you're not necessarily this guy here, but you are for this. Mm-hmm. So it all comes back to the positioning. You deal with the positions. You deal with the problems that are relevant to your position. Like right now, because you've been sitting in your backline like a fool. Ironically, you are actually kind of equipped to deal with this because, you're here. So you might as well, right? You might as well. And so now she's going to die. But the danger is that, you dealt with the problem, but look at how much pressure that you lost off of the front line. So even though you quote-unquote dealt with the problem, your front line is getting their teeth kicked in from that high ground that you should have been dealing with.
Gotcha.
So you dealt with the problem, you won the battle, but lost the war, kind of a moment.
Mm-hmm.
I don't hate this copy. It's fine. This fight is still very much winnable. And again, it's like no matter how you play it, no matter how you position, sometimes just having that second life is totally worth it. Good hook.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is fine.
Let's push forward. Focal point locked.
Yep, it's fine. Yeah, this is fine. You gave your team a real shot there. Their Cassidy clutched it. And I want to point out, I'm pretty sure how he clutched it as well. It might be kind of informative to watch. So check this out. So he's poking, he's dealing with stuff. I might be wrong here, but I'm pretty sure this clutched it. So he lives. Okay, I'm out. But check out the angle that their Ana takes, by the way. Huge plays.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so she's hitting all sorts of shots. And then it gets even worse because the Cassidy follows with her and takes the angle. Now, this is really good for Cassidy. This is the type of position that he likes, so he's equipped to deal with this problem. Why? Short, kind of congested area. You guys are cooked. This is what Cassidy's equipped to deal with, right? This kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Almost nobody beats him in that range. And there you go. Now, they used ultimates to do it, but yeah. Okay, let's watch one more fight here. So this is where things get tricky, because you go, man, I don't really know what space I want to control here. Like, what do you think of where you're at right now?
I mean, that's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, I don't know where to stand right now.
First rule is always an angle. Second rule is always cover. That's simple enough. And technically, you've got pressure from your team here, and you have cover here. So this is at least checking those two boxes. Right? So when you're not sure, just look for a different split for my team. Even if there's somebody with you. For example, if your Moira comes here, but your Zarya is here, it's okay. As long as you're not stacked with your entire team. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Totally fine. And then as long as you have cover, and you do. So this is okay. This is a fine starting position to be in. And then you fly out to cover. My problem here would be more of the timing of that push. So look at where your team is as you go. You see it?
Yeah, no one's up with me yet. Yeah.
Bit of a problem, right? Just wait a couple seconds before you go for this here. But I actually think that the way that you did this, even flying to cover here, like if you think about this position, this is really good for you, right? This area over here, lots of vertical cover. I mean, he got very lucky here. Very, very lucky. Are you on an angle? Yes. Do you have cover? Yes. How can you make this position better? Where are you about to fly? I can smell it.
The train.
The train,
or the
right?
Top middle area, yeah.
You got it. You got it. And this is good. Cover, yes. Verticality, yes. This is perfect. This is really good. Now, the irony here is that What's the mistake here? Look very carefully. So you miss your stickies. That sucks. It's unfortunate. Rare miscue from you. But right here, where do you go? Where should you go?
Into the train.
Into the train. Or lean further here. Just hold the angle. Don't go back. Because why is going back a mistake here? Not just because you lose the angle, but also do you have
You lose the
cover?
pressure.
Yes, you lose pressure, and look at your cover here. You're cooked.
Yeah, there is none.
If this Cassidy takes a duel on you, you are dead.
Yeah.
And you know that, which is why you have to back so far away. Okay, scroll wheel on my mouse is not working. Okay, there we go. That is a monstrous combo. How did she catch you with your pants down? She out-angled you, right?
Yeah.
We can't let this son
She's
of a gun
also
do this.
hunting me the whole game.
No way this guy copies. No, he doesn't copy it.
Enemy team has claimed.
Wait, what is he doing? Why is he stacking? Okay, yeah, we'll stop there. So, what needs to be practiced? I'll have you put it in your own words here as best as you possibly can.
From beginning to end, warm-up games. Like
Yep.
warm-up, like there's different game modes I can do and use. Whether it's the workshop or like the official modes. In game, I need to practice having consistent cover,
Yes.
when to poke, not constantly sitting in my team. I'm Echo. I need to take advantage of the fact that I can fly and
Sure.
get to different spots, be more aggressive. You said west to east, not north to south.
Yes. Yes.
Um,
And then I would say cranking that one up even further when you have ultimate.
yes, because I have a get out of jail free card,
Yes. Exactly. Exactly.
second life, whatever you want to call it.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. If questions come up, let me know. This is let's put it this way. This concept that I'm challenging you with is going to be probably the most important thing that you apply yourself to with Echo moving forward. It is everything to the character. It's everything to really any character. And there is some complexity here. It's going to take a lot of split-second decision-making and a lot of practice and a lot of, honestly, self-review about, okay, I didn't really know where to angle here. I think I might have been too far split from my team. Was this good? Was this bad? Was it poor timing? That's something that you're going to have to challenge and review on your own.
Okay.
But taking it from the position of what's the best angle, what's the best position for me in any given moment, I think you'll find a lot of success moving forward.